Hello class, this is Mom Says, signing on. This video lecture teaches you how to create tables using SQL or SQL and NetBeans in two different ways. Let's begin. Before you create tables in the database, make sure that you have the following software resources. You have the NetBeans IDE already installed in your device. You have the Java Development Kit, JDK, these are the versions, and the Java DB, and these are the versions. When you already have all the resources and you have configured the database, make sure that you have configured the database. You have registered the database in NetBeans IDE, you start the server and create a database, and you already connect to the database that you had created, then you can now create a table. But if you didn't know how to do all this stuff, wait for my video tutorials about this. But for now, let us focus on creating table in the database. The contact database that you just created is currently empty. It does not yet contain any tables or data. In NetBeans IDE, you can add a database table by either using the Create Table dialog or by inputting an SQL statement and running it directly from the SQL editor. You can explore both methods. Let us first start with using the Create Table dialog. Expand the Contact DB connection node here. So click the plus and note that there are several schema subnodes. Here, just click the plus sign. The NB user schema is the only schema that applies to this lectures. So we right click this node, the NB user, and choose as default schema. Expand the app node and note that there are three subfolders. We have here the tables, the views, and the procedures. So next thing to do is we right click the tables node and then we choose Create Table to open the Create Table dialog box. So this is now the Create Table dialog box. In the table name text field, so let's type friends. Click Add Column here. The Add Column dialog box appears. This one. For column name, here, let's enter ID. For data type, let's select integer from the drop-down list. So choose very carefully. Here. Under constraints, this one, select the primary key checkbox to specify that this column is the primary key for your table. All tables found in the relational databases must contain a primary key. Note that when you select the primary key, The checkbox, look at this, the indexed and unique checkboxes are also automatically selected. And the null checkbox is deselected. See? This is because primary keys are used to identify a unique row in the database, and by default are used as the table indexed. Because all rows must be identified, primary keys cannot contain a null value. You had just created your primary key. So all you need to do now is to repeat the procedure by specifying fields. You add fields like first name, last name, nickname, friend, scenes, then email. So what we're trying to do is we create a table named friends that will hold the field such as first name, last name, nickname, friends, scenes, date, then email address. Okay, so let's try it again. Click OK to close the dialog box. Let's add column again. Click Add Column to open the Add Column dialog box. And then in the name field, we type first name. So what is the data type for the first name? It's the best data type for that. So let's choose, since it is a character, let's choose varchar, variable character. Let's put a possible size. What could be the longest length of the first name? For example, 30. Okay, and then so no need to do anything. The null value check, meaning it's possible to have no value in the first name. And then for the column name check, for the data type check, we specify the size. So after all the changes and you think you're okay and satisfied with the changes, then you may now click OK button to proceed with another field or to add more column to complete the tables, the fields of the tables that you just created. Notice that we have now two rows with two fields, the ID and the first name. With the metadata, we have the data type, integer, varchar, the sizes. Okay, so just repeat all the steps to complete all the column in your table named friends. Okay, just repeat it until you're done. Now that you had created your tables, you have completed all the fields as follow. We have the ID, the first name, last name, nickname, friends, scenes, email, with the following data type. As you can see, we have the integer, varchar, date, and mostly varchar, which is the best data type for the column name we created. These are the fields now for our table. So let's take a look at the other. Okay, so this is now the fields that will comprise your table. Now if you are satisfied with all the changes, you may now click OK to close the Create Table dialog box. So as you can see, the IDE generates the friends table in the databases here. And you can see now the friends table nodes. This is the symbol for that. It is displayed under the table nodes, the friends. Now beneath the table node, the columns or the fields are listed, starting with the primary key. We have the IDE, first name, up to email. So these are the fields that we just created. And this is how to create the table using the Create Table dialog. Now let's try other methods of creating table, this time using the SQL editor. So first, in the service window here, make sure that you are in the services window. Either right-click the contact DB node, the one that you created, you can right-click it, and then choose execute command. Or another way of doing that is right-click, so you can choose either right-click the tables node and execute command. So either of the two, it's up to you. Just choose execute command. So let's click it. Give some time to the IDE to create a blank canvas that opens in the SQL editor in the main window. This one. Now you can type now the query in the SQL editor. This is a table definition for the colleagues table you are about to create. So let's start coding. Create table colleagues. This is now the new table that you're going to create. Earlier you create the friends table. This time is the colleagues table. After typing the SQL command here, so as you can see, this is our table colleagues. Our fields, we have the ID, first name, last name, of the email, and then we have here the data type, integer, varchar, and then the sizes for each field. So after doing all that, take a look at it and take note that statements and queries formed in the SQL editors are parsed in structured query language. SQL or SQL adheres to strict syntax rules which you should be familiar with when working in the IDS editor. SQL syntax can also differ depending on the database management you are using. Okay, so it depends. Now we are using here NetBeans IDE 8.2 as our platform. Okay, now how to run and to check if there is a bug here. So to run it, we click the Run SQL button in the taskbar here at the top of the editor, or simply press Ctrl-Shift-E on your keyboard to execute the query. So let's click it now. So as you can see in the output window, Ctrl-4, a message displays indicating that the statement was successfully executed. We have now the new table created. Earlier we created the friends table with the following fields. Now we have the colleagues table with the following fields. So it's up to you to choose what method would you like, which is easier to you. To verify the changes that you had just created the colleagues table, we right click the contact DB connection node here. We are still in the services window, and so let's right click it and then choose refresh. This updates the runtime UI component to the current status of the specified database. This step is necessary when running queries from the SQL editor in NetBeans. Note that the new colleagues table node here. It is now displayed under tables in the services window. And this is now how to create the table using the SQL editor. Now let's add table data, or in other way around, we're going to add now the records to the tables that we have just created. Okay, so now that you have created one or more tables in the contact database, you can start populating it with data. There are several ways that you can add records to your table, such as write an SQL statement in the SQL editor that supplies a value for every field present in the table schema. Another way is use the SQL editor to add records to the table. And we can also use an external SQL script to import records to the table. Now, in running an SQL statement, first we expand the tables under the contact DB node. So this is the contact DB. Let's expand it first. To expand the tables under the contact DB node in the services window, right click the friends. Where is the friends? Here. So right click the friends table and choose execute command to open the SQL editor window. So this is it. In the SQL editor, we can now type or enter our SQL command. We have insert into nbuser.friends and then the values inside our table. So the nbuser here refers to this one, and the friends here refers to the table name. Okay, and then these are the values inside the friends table, separated by comma. Now we right click inside the SQL editor. We're going to run it. So right click inside the SQL editor and choose run statement. So as you can see, the output window displays a message indicating that the statement was successfully executed. To verify that the new record has been added to the friends table, right click the friends table node in the services window here, and then you choose view data. When you choose view data, a query to select all the data from the table is automatically generated in the upper pane of the SQL editor. The results of the statement are displayed in the lower pane of the SQL editor. In this case, the friends table displays in the lower pane. Note that the new row has been added with the data you just supplied from the SQL statement. Okay, remember the Theodore, Bagwell, T-Bag. So we have one row added to the table. See? So the name of our table again is friends here, and these are the fields that just created, and this is the record. Okay, the record for each fields that you just created, which is inside the table. So this is how we add data in our table using the SQL statement. Now to add data or to add record using the SQL editor, from where we left earlier here, we click the insert records, this one, the insert records icon, or the button to add a row. So let's click it, and here's now our rows, the insert record dialog box. So from the insert record dialog box, click in each cell. So this is our new row now. Click in each cell and enter records. First name, and last name, nickname, friends sims. Note that for the cells with the data type here, let's enter the date. So note that for the cells with the data type, you can choose a date from the calendar, and then click OK when you are done. Let's say for example our date. Okay. Then for the email, sample@gmail.com. Just an example. Then click OK, or you can add a row. You can show SQL command. So let's first click OK, and we're done. So this is now the new records you have just added, and then just repeat the steps to add more records. Okay, now if you want to delete tables, just click on the table, right click the table node, and then delete. Give some time to the IDE to delete. You will be asked for a confirmation, and if you are sure, then click yes. I created this table to delete. Okay, so the sample table for deletion now is deleted. And this is how we add data using the SQL editor and how we delete table.